Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I want to talk to you about the books I read in November and also my December hopefuls list. And what I mean by that is it's not a TBR, it's not a to be read list because I don't know where I'm going to be at for the month of December. Not physically, but mentally. So I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done. So that's what this video is. And you can tell me about how your reading month went. Was it good? Was it bad? What was your favorite book of the month? What was your least favorite book of the month? Please let me know in the comments and let's hop in. So this video I think is going to go by pretty quickly, this wrap up at least, because the majority of the books that I read this month were all in the Percy Jackson series. So I read, what, 9 books? 8 books? Let's see. How many books did I read? 7? 6, 7, 8. 8. So quickly, let's talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I made a whole vlog about this, so if you're curious about my in-depth thoughts and my spoilery thoughts, you can check that out. Don't worry, I label everything as spoilers, so if you don't want to know the spoilers, you can just skip ahead in the video and you don't have to see that part of it. But yeah, the original Percy Jackson, 1 through 5, I loved them. They were everything I remember them being, which was one of my favorite series of all time. They were so enjoyable to read. I loved Percy as a main character. I think that his narrative voice is so unique and so distinctive, and that's something that I really enjoyed reading from. Again, you can watch this vlog. I'm not going to talk about them a ton here because I made an entire vlog about it, but I really loved those. The newest book that came out, which is called The Chalice of the Gods, which is labeled as Percy Jackson number 6. I don't think it should be, by the way. I didn't like it very much. I gave it a 3-star. I felt like that distinctive narrative voice that I just talked about wasn't there for that book. And I think that, honestly, it felt like a nostalgia cash grab book and not like it was really adding value to the series as a whole. Also, the reason I say that I don't think it should be labeled as Percy Jackson number 6 is because that implies that you could pick it up right after the last one, which is called, what is it called? The Last Olympian? Yeah. That implies that you could pick it up right after The Last Olympian, but it takes place after the entire Heroes of Olympus series. And so you can't really pick it up directly after. I've read the entire Heroes of Olympus series, not in a long time, so there was a lot that I didn't remember, but it wouldn't make sense, timeline-wise, for you to pick it up immediately after. So I don't think it should be labeled Percy Jackson number 6, and also I don't think it should have been written. Anyway, it's turning into a trilogy. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I am curious to see how it goes with the new Percy Jackson TV series that's coming out this month, I think, in the end of December on Disney+, which I will be watching and probably critiquing. But I am looking forward to seeing if they do a good job with it. So that was kind of the first half of my reading month, was all reading the Percy Jackson series. I enjoyed it overall. I really love that series, and I am going to reread The Heroes of Olympus at some point, and I will vlog it. I don't know when, but at some point. Okay, so then, after that, I read The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. This one is about a woman who is an author, and she is engaged to be married into a very rich and powerful family, and she has not met any of her fiance's family yet, and so she goes to meet them and they play these games, and at the first meeting her father-in-law gives her a tape recording and says, hey, you know, I wrote this book, I want you to listen to this tape and tell me what you think about it. She listens to the tape and discovers that it's actually a confession to murder. So that's kind of the mystery part of it. I gave this book a 3-star. I didn't really like it, and it's hard to say exactly what I don't like about it without giving you spoilers, so I might do a little spoilery section here in a minute. But basically, I think there were too many threads that weren't fully thought through, and the game portion of it, the first game that they play, was really entertaining, and it did make you kind of go like, what the heck is happening? And kind of a theme of this book is that the main character is like, hey, whoa, you know, what's happening? And the entire family's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, you're overreacting. Like, you know, it's just this thing we do. Anyway, and so that is something that I enjoyed with the first game, but then it just kind of fizzled out so fast. And then the ending was so disappointing. Like, the threads were not tied up all the way. And so I just felt like it was kind of unfinished. Let me give you some spoilery thoughts real quick. So I'll put spoilers up on the screen. If you don't want to know spoilers, you can skip ahead to this time code that I will also put on the screen. So if you don't want spoilers for The Family Game by Catherine Steadman, move on. So the biggest thing that I don't like about this book was, number one, that she is pregnant, that she finds out that she's pregnant at the beginning of the book, and then the way that she treats, I don't know, the way that she acts being pregnant. Not that I thought that it was super unrealistic of like how somebody is while pregnant. I would know. I am currently like 6 months pregnant. So that wasn't my issue. It wasn't that like I thought that she was unrealistic. But when it comes to like the Krampus Night game, if her fiance actually cared about her and wasn't the murderer, he would not have let her do that, I don't think. And I think that it's just really weird that she just like lets go of all of it so easily when the entire family knew the risks that were at play for her being pregnant and doing these things. And then also just in general, like, that the entire family is okay with their brother like murdering a bunch of people, and they're like, oh, maybe this girl will be the one that like can stop him. Like, why don't you stop him? You know, especially the dad. I thought it was really weird that the dad was like, let me write you this confession, but it's actually about my son doing the murdering. But I'm so rich and I have all of these connections and I haven't done anything to stop him from murdering a bunch of girls. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Also, the fact that she doesn't just sit down and listen to the entire recording. Like, you listen to part of her recording and you're like, oh, my father-in-law might be a murderer. Guess I'll pick it up another time, and then you don't listen to it for weeks at a time. Like, that doesn't make any sense, and the entire book would have fallen apart if she had listened to it all at once, which I guess is why she doesn't. But, like, you would, if you were a regular person, you would have listened to the entire recording. The other thing that really bothered me about this was that her, like, whole secret of why she's such a terrible person was that she let the man who caused the car accident that killed her parents that she was in die on the scene and didn't do anything to help him as an 11-year-old child. And that makes her like a murderer and a horrible person, and she would have gone to jail for her entire life, and if anybody finds out, she would go to jail right now. I don't think that would happen. I don't think that she would be prosecuted like that. And I don't think that they would prosecute, because they're saying like, it said like in the book like, oh, you have to be 10 to like not be prosecuted, and she was 11. But like, I think that any judge would look at that scenario and be like, oh, you didn't do anything to help this man stay alive as an 11-year-old when you just went through this super traumatic car accident. You were like literally still in shock and your parents are dead and you like saw your parents dead. Okay, guess I'm throwing you in jail. That would not happen. Like, in what? No, that wouldn't happen. So that was like, I just thought that was so dumb that was like her big secret and what made her such a bad person, and like what made the evil fiance think that he could be with her because she was a murderer too. Like, what? In what way does that make sense, you guys? It doesn't make any sense. So those really nonsensical things really bugged me. And then at the end, that they're like, oh, you know, if you win this last final game, then you get to know everybody else's secrets and you can use them against them or use them to help them. But then we don't get anybody else's secrets? I'm like, you're just gonna like leave us on this cliffhanger? And that the sister-in-law tells her she should get an abortion because she only wants her kids to be the ones that inherit money. That's horrible. That is horrible. Jail to that sister-in-law. I mean, she dies, so like. But I wasn't a fan. I didn't like it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. And then the only other book that I read this month that was not Percy Jackson related was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This was a reread for me, and in rereading, I bumped it up to 5 stars. I love this book. I think it's so fun. It's so cozy. You know, you have the high stakes of an adventure without being so stressed about it. You get this wonderful, beautiful world building, and I love the way that Bilbo's character grows and how he gains his confidence and just watching that throughout the book is just such a lovely thing. So that was my other reread of the month, and I really enjoyed it. And also, just, I was thinking about this as an observation. All the books that went well for me this month were rereads, and the books I didn't like were new reads. Take that as you will. So yeah, that was kind of my monthly wrap-up. As far as December hopefuls that I would like to get to, I'd like to read Little Women this month. I have never read Little Women before, which I know is a shocker. I love classics, and that is like classic of classics, right? You know what I mean? So I really am looking forward to that. I did start reading it. I am liking it so far. I have 3 older sisters, so reading about a family of 4 sisters, I think it's just going to be kind of heartwarming for me. And I know there's like some tragedy that happens in it, I'm pretty sure, but I'm a little nervous for that. But yeah, so I'm excited to read about that sisterhood aspect, because I myself have 3 older sisters and no brothers. Well, now I have brother-in-laws, but you know, growing up, it was just me and my sisters. So that's one I would really like to get to. I also currently have A Darker Shade of Magic checked out from the library by V.E. Schwab. That is about, I think, 4 or 5 different versions of London that all have like different types of magic. And that's basically all I know about it. I don't know, I'm like 15% of the way through, and it's interesting, but I'm not like dying to pick it back up. So we'll see. We'll see with that one. And then I think if I end up reading anything else this month, maybe I might reread the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because I just reread The Hobbit. I read it for the first time like last year around this time, and the beginning of this year, but like maybe I want to reread it because I just loved them so much, and it's just such a fun series, and I just feel like this weather is perfect for it. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Oregon, and it's just like rainy and cloudy and gray, and I just think that's like just like perfect reading weather, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know if I'll end up reading any other books this month. I'd like to, but you know, it's Christmas time. I'm very pregnant. I have a 1-year-old. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Tell me what books you would like to read in December. And like I said at the beginning of the video, tell me how your November reading went. And I'll see you guys in the next one.